Kenny.
Okay. Thanks, Les Carla, and thanks for taking this topical issue today. And hopefully there can be some clarity on this issue today in relation to confiscation of CBD products around Ireland. And I think many people are confused around the legality around CBD products, and even I'm confused of what is legal or not legal. And over the past number of months, a few shops around the country have been raided, for want of a better word, by the police and customs, confiscating CBD products such as CBD flower, CBD tea and CBD oil. And obviously this is a great inconvenience for the shop owners, because the shop owners are not breaking any law by any means. And where this stems from, Minister, is the law itself, the Misuse of Drugs Act 1977. There is no exception whatsoever for THC traces amounts. So this is where it runs into kind of trouble. And as I said, the shop owners are perfectly legitimate, law-abiding, and selling products that are perfectly legal. But obviously there is a situation where the interpretation by one arm of the state, the customs and the police, is contravening another arm of the state, which is the HPRA and the Food Safety Authority, which says in their kind of documentation that there can be trace amounts of THC in CBD products to 0.2%. So that's the kind of the background, and some of these shop owners will be possibly facing a criminal sanction. So the stakes are very, 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 very serious. And to the letter of the law, if the police of this state want to, interpret the way the Misuse of Drug Act 1977, then there are shops not far from here in Grafton Street that are actually selling CBD products with trace amounts of THC with 0.2%. If that's the case, then the manager should be questioned by the police. So there is a huge contradiction in relation to this, and there are many people that are using CBD products. And they find them very, very beneficial for their own well-being. So that is putting them in a situation, are they breaking the law? So there's a mess going on in relation to this, and hopefully you can bring some clarity, Minister. I understand, I have a document there from the Department of Health that there is proposed amendments around the 1977 Acts to include trace amounts of THC to 0.3%. Now that will give clarity, because there's no clarity whatsoever around this issue. So hopefully you can elaborate on that, because that's where the problem lies. The problem lies of laws that were written 42 years ago that have not been updated to update what people are doing at the moment. And CBD shops and CBD derivatives are quite a kind of, there's almost been a boom in this production over the last 2.5 years. So hopefully, Minister, you can give some clarity for the people that are listening, because there's a lot of people looking and listening to this segment in the Dáil tonight to see where they go as shop owners, as people that use CBD, and hopefully they're not criminalised. Thanks.
The Minister's 4 minutes.
Last concur, and thank you, Deputy, for raising the issue here today. The Revenue Customs Service has primary responsibility for the prevention, detection, interception and seizure of controlled drugs intended to be smuggled or illegally imported into the state. And Garda Síochána has primary responsibility for the investigation of any offences relating to the smuggling or illegal importation of controlled drugs, and sole responsibility for drug law enforcement within Ireland. Tetrahydrocannabinol, which is commonly referred to as THC, is a derivative of cannabis, which is a controlled drug under the Misuse of Drugs Act 1977 and regulations and orders made thereunder. This legal framework gives effect in Ireland to the International Conventions on Narcotic and Psychotropic Substances and must be enforced by the relevant authorities. Cannabidiol, which is commonly referred to as CBD, is not a controlled drug following extraction from the cannabis plant, as it is not psychoactive. However, if CBD products or preparations also contain THC in any quantity, these are considered controlled drugs. The legislation currently in operation does not provide for any allowable trace element of THC. I am informed that it is revenue policy to treat CBD products that contain any trace elements of THC as controlled drugs under the Misuse of Drugs Act 1977, and thus make them liable to detention upon their importation and ultimately seizure, pursuant to sections 33 and 34 respectively of the Customs Act 2015. It should be noted that under current legislation, it is possible to apply for a licence for the growing of hemp from seed varieties specified by the Commission of the EU. These seeds contain a maximum THC level of 0.2% and are deemed eligible for the purposes of Article 1 of Regulation EU number 1307/2013. Revenue has advised that it has been involved in some seizures of CBD containing trace elements of THC in recent months and relate to seizures at the point of importation, which can include seizures at ports or airports where product is intercepted in passengers' personal luggage, seizures at post mail centres where product is intercepted in parcels addressed to either shops or private individuals, controlled deliveries of product to shops or individuals in conjunction with An Garda Síochána following initial interception in a mail centre or otherwise. The Deputy is aware that Minister Harris is in the process of establishing a medical cannabis access programme, which aims to facilitate access to certain acceptable cannabis products which have not been authorised as medicines by the Health Products Regulatory Authority. The programme will permit cannabis products to be prescribed for 3 specific medical indications. It is envisaged that over a period, a variety of medical cannabis products, both THC and CBD, with trace elements of THC and manufactured by multiple producers, will be available for use in the MCAP. After consultation with relevant state authorities, the Minister may give consideration to the introduction of legislation to accommodate an acceptable trace level of THC in CBD products. Margaret,
Deputy Kenny is 2 minutes.
I don't think it really kind of answers my question. I'm sure, Minister, the police of this day have better things to be doing than breaking people's doors down to confiscate, products that are not illegal. They're not illegal. Can I just state that again? What these shops are selling is not illegal, and at the same time, they're being confiscated. So there's obviously a contradiction in the law. And there's contradiction in the state, in the arms of the law. So it's not answering the question. As the document I have from the Department of Health states that it is envisaged that national legislation will be amended in the future to exempt finished products containing trace amounts of THC at levels not greater than 3%. So what is it, Minister? Is the law going to change? Is it not going to change? Is this going to continue? Because it will continue, and in fact it will get worse because as you've seen around CBD products and cannabis derivatives have become very, very popular, and people use them and find them very, very beneficial. So you're kind of, with this kind of not clarity around this issue, it's making it extremely confusing for people that have shops and people that are using CBD products. So I don't know, Minister, if you can, is there going to be a law change around this? Is it going to be amended? Because the WHO in January said that it should. Even the cap, even in the European Union, under the cap, the subsidies given to farmers for hemp. So the C word, the cannabis word, is not as dirty as it used to be, and I think we should embrace cannabis as a drug, as a plant, and as for all its purposes. So can you quote or make comment on about the legislation around the amendment of the misuse of drug tax around cannabis?
Minister's 2 minutes.
Okay. As I said, it is an offence to cultivate, import, export, produce, supply and possess cannabis, except in accordance with a ministerial licence issued by the Minister for Health. The Misuse of Drugs Order 2017 limits the purposes for which such licences for cannabis can be issued. For example, for forensic analysis or research, including research involving the cultivation of cannabis for use in approved clinical trials. An exception to the legislation relates to the cannabis-based medicine Sativex. This prescription-only medicine is authorised by the HPRA as a treatment for symptom improvement in adult patients with moderate to severe spasticity due to multiple sclerosis who have not responded to other medication and who demonstrate improvement during initial trial. I think it's important to take this opportunity before the House to confirm that the Government has no plans to legalise what is commonly referred to as recreational cannabis. And on the issue of the interpretation of the law, we have to operate under existing law, Deputy, and as you know, interpretation of that law is a matter for the courts. and how that's interpreted there. Thank you, Les Concordia.
Magad and chat the Michael Martin.